Do you ever feel like there's got to be more to pitching than chasing velocity and blown out arms? My name is Joe Zeller, and that's why I founded the Zeller Pitching Academy. It's the only full arsenal academy in the world. And what I mean by that is we're adding the knuckleball, but we're integrating it into all the rest of your arsenal, improving your mechanics. So we're really doing everything. But with the power of the knuckleball, it's going to be able to give you at least a one-step advantage, meaning that if your natural ability is high school, when you add the knuckleball, you can get into college. If your natural ability is, say, college, it gives you a chance to play higher level college or even pro ball. And if your ability is pro ball, it gives you a chance to make it into the big leagues. And if you truly master the knuckleball, it can do even more than that. Like you see a guy like Tim Wakefield truly mastered it, and he was just a position player, not even a pitcher, only throwing in the 70s, and he was able to win 200 games in the major league. So that's why I started this academy, because there's a lot of programs that are going to focus on velocity, and it's marketed to you're 6'3" and you've got all the stuff that scouts look for, and let's add a couple miles an hour, let's do this, let's do that. And that's fine for some guys, but what about the 99%? What about almost everybody else? What about guys like me that were an undersized righty, and my strength was hitting my spots, being a good pitcher, being intelligent. I was a great athlete, but I wasn't the 6'3" guy that scouts are looking for. For me, this is really something that I wish existed for, a player like that, or for myself when I was younger, where we lean into what are your strengths. You're a smart guy. You can hit your spots, but you're undervalued. And so how do we get you from undervalued to add things into your arsenal that make it so you stick out wherever you go? Because believe me, when you can do certain things, like hitting your spots, being a true pitcher, and then you also have a knuckleball in your arsenal, everyone's going to notice you. It's impossible to go to a tryout, to go to a showcase, and not get looks when you're doing something different, and you're doing it at a high level, and you're getting outs. And so by the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly how we do it step by step, and you're going to be able to make a more informed decision on if this program is truly a good fit for you. So my love, for travel baseball started when I was younger, because, I was a good travel ball player. I went to Cooperstown 3 times. I played on the San Diego Stars when I was 12 and 13 years old, and won a national championship with them too. And then I coached for 10 years, and I coached travel ball from the ages of 9 to 14, and just recently had a kid sign for UCLA that was on one of my first travel ball teams out here. And so that's been a lot of fun for me. But I've also worked with kids in high school, college, professional baseball. And so I've worked with all ages, but definitely, really enjoy working with younger guys, because that's an age where you can add something in and you can get on the right path that's really going to set you on a great trajectory. So I tell people, especially in my program, my biggest regret personally was when I was younger, I was a great pitcher because there were no radar guns. And so I focused on getting batters out. I was a great athlete. I could hit my spots, I could change speeds. But then the radar gun came along. I remember the first time, ever, it was when I was like 15 years old, and I was throwing 82, 85, I think. It's pretty good speed, but, nothing crazy. And then that kind of messed me up, because then all of a sudden I'm focusing on that too much. My command started to degrade. And so I went from dominating at a young age, just focusing on hitting my spots, and then I started focusing on velocity, and I wasn't as good anymore. And furthermore, I learned the knuckleball at a young age, but I never really threw it in games. And that's another huge regret, because then when I got to pro ball, I had to kind of reinvent or relearn being the pitcher I was when I was 12 before radar guns. So think about how crazy that is. For a lot of you guys watching this, you're in this cycle of everything's about the radar gun. You go to the tournament, you go to the showcase, and that's all they're talking about. And you're a good pitcher. You can get outs. You have value to bring, but everyone's just focusing on that. And even if you don't think you are, you're probably focusing on it way too much. You're obsessing over it. How do I get to 60? How do I get to 70? Whatever age you are, you're always trying to get to that next number. And I can tell you from personal experience, it messed me up. And that's why this is such a passion project for me. And I can also tell you from personal experience that if I would have just leaned into who I was, started throwing the knuckleball at a young age, hitting my spots and, not obsessing over velocity, I would have had a way better career because I wouldn't have had to, go back to that in pro ball. I would have already been way better at the knuckleball because I started throwing the knuckleball in games in professional baseball and it kept me around way longer, had a way better career. But the hardest part by far is learning to throw it in games. And so that's the whole point of this program is we're going to teach you the knuckleball properly, which is something that, most people are not ever able to learn. Most guys that threw the knuckleball, they learned it from this small group of elite practitioners. It's passed down and, for example, Phil Necro, 300 plus games winning in the big leagues was able to teach his brother and help his brother out. And so they're the brothers that have the most combined wins because they both learned the knuckleball. And so in pro ball, I was able to link up with Charlie Huff and he was able to help me and teach me a lot of new things, a lot of drills that I have in my program, directly from him. I got to work with other professional major league knuckleballers and so got a much better perspective of it. And now this is the first time where we're able to really disseminate all of this knowledge and give really good coaching on the knuckleball so that people can add it in at a younger age and in a way where they're not having to decide, okay, I'm going to be a full-time knuckleballer. You never have to make that decision because the truth is you can learn it properly and then you can just add it in. And maybe it's a pitch that you throw every once in a while. Maybe it's a strikeout pitch for you. In our program, we've had guys that have great arms that they just throw it a couple times in games. We've had guys, for example, Nathan Sadlock, he had labrum surgery in high school because he was chasing velocity, could only throw 65. And then he had to make the decision. After labrum surgery, do I come back and chase velocity again, risk re-injury, and try to get up to 85, 90 to potentially play in college? Or maybe I can learn the knuckleball. And he chose learning the knuckleball. And then within a short period of time, got good at it and then was able to sign for college. And that's where he's pitching now. And now he has a legitimate chance of continuing his career in college and then potentially beyond if it continues to get better. Look at Kenny Surwa, learned the knuckleball at a young age, and it was a great pitch for him. He kept pitching it even at a young age and developed it. But then in college, he had a coach that didn't want him to throw the knuckleball, so he focused on his other stuff. Then he had to go to indie ball for like 3 years throwing the knuckleball, and that's what got him signed by the Tigers. He got signed because his knuckleball went viral. Maybe you've seen some of the videos. And so if he would have been throwing it in college, it definitely would have helped him develop it quicker. But the point is there's just not that much knowledge about the knuckleball out there and how you can just integrate it in without having to become a knuckleballer. And like we said, it's going to help you leapfrog. It's going to help you get to at least one level above where you would have normally been. And there's no disadvantage to it because it's the easiest pitch on the arm. So it's going to help save you, especially in the middle of this arm injury epidemic, throwing less pitches, max effort, being able to focus on good mechanics and hitting your spots. And then when you have the knuckleball, it's a lot better just mentally knowing that, say you're a righty, if you don't throw a knuckleball, you don't have anything special, you're going to have to be in the climate today like 90 or above to even sniff top level college. But if you have the knuckleball, you always know I'm going to keep developing this. Then I go to a showcase and maybe I'm only throwing 85, but I'm going to get seen and I have a chance, even if you're only throwing 80. And so the knuckleball gives us a huge advantage. And in our program, what we're able to do is you sign up. We ask you a bunch of questions to see if it's truly a good fit, what kind of pitcher you are, what your goals are. And then you're able to sign up. And then what we do a video analysis of where your knuckleball is at the start. And I've seen so many guys at this point all over the world, all different ages, different mechanics, different hand sizes, that I know pretty well exactly how to fix every single issue. So one guy will have the ball coming out with backspin at the start, another guy with topspin, another guy's just pushing it. Whatever it is, we're able to problem solve together. And usually there's very much commonalities between different pitchers. So we're able to really make progress quickly. But we're able to problem solve because we do the video analysis, then we have all of our modules step by step where you're going to be able to learn the knuckleball. And then as you're going through, we have our group calls, small group calls, where we're able to watch your video that you upload. We're able to watch frame by frame, problem solve together, get the knuckleball better step by step. And then once we get it pretty decent, then we problem solve, integrating it into the game. How is this going to fit in? How many times should you be throwing it? Stuff like that, what counts. And so it's been a super successful program, way more successful than I really imagined, because growing up, everyone tells you the knuckleball is not something that you can even learn. And it's just 1 in a million guys can do it. But now I started teaching it systematically, and you can learn it pretty much like any other pitch, right? I could teach a kid a changeup. No one would think anything. Of course, you can teach a kid a changeup. You can teach a kid a curveball. You can teach a kid whatever. And now we can teach a kid the knuckleball. So this is a new opportunity, a new thing that never existed before. And it's coming at the perfect moment, at a moment when everything's about being 6'3", throwing 95 to 100 miles an hour. And the reality is that's going to be out of reach for 99% of people. So this is a way to level the playing field. You're a pitcher, you're a good athlete, you got good control, but you're probably not going to be 6'5" throwing 100. And there's now going to be a place for you because you can hit your spots, learn to pitch, add the knuckleball in. All of a sudden you're on radars, and all of a sudden you have a legitimate chance. You have hope to making it a long way and maybe even the big leagues. And so if you're watching this and this sounds like you, where this is an opportunity that you want to take advantage of, then you can book a call. We'll ask you a number of questions to really see if it's a good fit. And if it is, then we're going to take your career to new levels, add the knuckleball, improve your mechanics, and really get you on track. So let's get to work.